raised in a house where we went to church every Sunday and every Sunday night and every Wednesday night. And I remember almost every time singing "Victory in Jesus." And that was our life on Sunday, but at home it was a very different story. My dad was extremely physically abusive. If we didn't put the peanut butter and jelly away or something like that, he would like beat you into the table. As you're a kid, you think, well, gosh, you're just a bad person. And as you get older towards being a teenager, you're like, this is screwed up. I mean, what the heck is going on here? And that was just kind of the lifestyle we lived. Like at home was just a complete perversion of what we were playing at church about. And so it just, to be honest with you, by the time I got to be a high schooler, I hated God. I hated church. I hated everything to do with it. I was angry that, okay, if God is so mean and God, if we do anything wrong, we can't do anything right, and he's just out to get us, and it was just a really twisted, perverted way to see God and to grow up and understand God. And so by the time I was a high schooler and I was like, you know, pretty much pissed off at my dad, I just said, screw you, and went off and ran away several times in my high school years. And my dad had physically abused me so bad that the state of Arizona, actually CPS, took me away. I ended up being raised with a foster mom who was completely into tarot cards. So I go from one extreme legalistic Christian background to her reading my palm with tarot cards. And at this point I had ultimate freedom, and so I used it. I enjoyed going to parties, staying out until who knows how long. And this was during my senior year, so as you can imagine, I barely graduated. And I lived in so many different homes because when I was 18, my foster mom kicked me out and I wasn't done with high school yet. So I lived in homes all over Prescott. I met Pat, my future husband, at a party. He had a guitar and he was playing music, and he was nice and tan and he was pretty good looking. Of course, we're living together and engaging in a relationship outside of marriage, and that doesn't lead anywhere good either, because at this point I find out I'm pregnant. And I remember telling Pat, and Pat being like, well, let's go smoke a bowl, let's go do our normal routine. And at this point in time, I'm like, okay, well, fine. I mean, I was totally in a drug fog at the time. I wasn't really even thinking through the consequences. And there were definitely consequences, because several months later, I knew something was horribly wrong. And I remember saying, I need to go to the hospital right now. And so we went, and they found out, you know, they knew I was pregnant, and they're like, you are going to miscarry. There is no heartbeat. Go ahead and go home, and here are the signs to look for, and just your body will take care of everything. If you have any complications, come back. So I'm pretty shocked at this point and just not really talking. And I remember going home, and all of Pat's friends were there, and they're ready to have another party. So they're like, come on, Heather, you don't feel good, so come and just smoke a bowl, you know, you relax yourself. And I remember doing that, and then going downstairs into my bedroom because I was just in a lot of pain, and just laying in bed and being all by myself and realizing, oh my gosh, look at what in the world am I doing? It's like the weight of the world hit me at that point, like deeper than I've ever imagined. I just was so guilt-ridden. I was like, holy crap, I am committing murder, and I've done it willingly and knowingly and continued this lifestyle. And it really hit me hard. And at that point in time, I cried out to the Lord. I cried out to God, and I'm like, God, I have nothing good to give you. I have nothing to offer. I'm completely worthless. I'm completely sinful. I am a complete wretch. If you are good, would you help me? Will you please help me? And that night was a totally different experience for me with God, because he wasn't the God that I knew that wanted to rain lightning bolts on or tell me I was a terrible person or I could never do anything right. He loved me. It was pretty incredible. In the middle of this situation, instead of feeling condemned, I was forgiven. I was loved. I was accepted. And I was changed. And that is a lot to happen in one night. And in that moment, the scripture became so alive to me for the very first time. And I remembered when I was a little girl, a verse I learned out of 1 Corinthians that says, "He who knew no sin became sin for us, so that we could have the righteousness of Christ." And I just am amazed that Jesus took on the abuse for me and gave me love. And he took on my sin of being a whore, and he made me his princess. And that he took on my sin of being a murderer, and he forgave me, and he cleaned me, and he gave me 3 of the most beautiful children despite all the drug use in my past. They're absolutely brilliant and normal. And that he would save Pat and I from a lifestyle of singing in bars to singing for Jesus, and made him an awesome husband who knows the Lord and loves his family dearly and adores me to death. And it's just a great opportunity we have as Covenant 31, as our family travels together and sets up and sings music and shares our testimony, that we get to do that together. And the cool thing is, when you are real and you get to share your testimony with people, your brokenness, how people need to hear that, how they relate to that, and how they're encouraged as the gospel is shared that Jesus is really our only hope. And it's just an awesome opportunity to be able to do that together. But what I feel is the coolest is the fact that, you know, I'd sing Victory in Jesus every Sunday at church. And that's so true, that our only victory is in Jesus. And I can't wait for that day when I go to heaven and I get to sing for him, and I get to look at his hands and feet and see the scars and how he's taken on that sin for me, and sing, and I be able to see him face to face.